If tomorrow
They lit up radio dials, jukeboxes, and small-town dances, yet somewhere between neon nights and dusty vinyl, their names slipped into the shadows. Today we're dusting off the jackets on 20 once towering country greats, measuring the thunder they raised back then against the surprising or humble moves they're making now. You might think you know every line of God Bless the U.S.A. or remember exactly where you were when the Urban Cowboy craze hit. But the stories behind those voices took sharper turns than any two-lane Texas blacktop. So grab a sweet tea, settle in, and let's spin the dial through Love's Lost, Bargains Won, and the unexpected corners where country legends now hang their hats, proving the final verse is rarely the last word, because every chorus echoes even when the charts forget. In 1984, Lee Greenwood's patriotic shout-along, God Bless the U.S.A., felt indestructible, blaring at ball games, campaign stops, and late-night truck stop jukeboxes. Greenwood leaned into the wave, stacking awards and touring with a band that spent more nights in arenas than at home. Yet as new generations tuned to hip-hop and bro country, his mainstream presence cooled. Rather than vanish, he pivoted toward veterans' benefits, overseeing scholarship foundations and bringing his red, white, and blue gospel to military bases as far away as Kuwait. In 2024, a star-studded tribute in Huntsville confirmed the anthem's staying power when a sold-out crowd lit phone flashlights and sang the hook louder than the band's amplifiers. Greenwood left the stage wiping tears, later admitting the reception felt bigger than any chart position. He now records limited vinyl runs, signs all 3,000 copies personally, then retreats to a Tennessee porch swing where gratitude replaces stadium adrenaline. But don't be shocked if the next election season calls him back under spotlight glare. T.G. Shepard ruled late 70s playlists with velvet baritone soap operas like Devil in the Bottle and I Loved 'Em Every One, enjoying 20 #1 hits before younger hat acts stampeded through. A near-fatal heart infection in 2012 threw his future into doubt, yet recovery sharpened his sense of purpose. Today, at 80, he crisscrosses the country in a tour bus retrofitted like a rolling museum, engaging fans who live stream shows on their phones. Younger artists invite him on stage for surprise medleys, the contrast between his analog cool and their pop country polish sparking crowd roars. After shows, he podcasts from the back lounge, dissecting life lessons his younger self ignored. When asked why he still chases mileage, Shepard grins that the highway never broke its promise of freedom, so neither will he. When Nobody shot to #1 in 1982, Sylvia Hutton was hailed as country's next crossover queen, complete with network TV specials and magazine covers predicting decade-long dominance. Backstage politics and her own second-guessing, however, dimmed the spotlight. By 1988, she quietly terminated her major label contract, leaving pundits baffled. Instead of chasing another deal, Sylvia studied psychology, earned coaching credentials, and built a practice guiding creatives through the same maze that once trapped her. She writes indie albums on her own timetable, pressing tiny batches she hand-delivers to fans at listening room shows. In seminars, she tells young singers that mental clarity is a bigger career asset than $1 million marketing plan, and the standing ovations suggest hard-won wisdom resonates louder than any forgotten chart statistic. Rzzy Bailey blended country grit with Memphis soul, stacking 5 straight #1s in 1981 while sporting rhinestone jumpsuits that glimmered under mirrored disco balls. Critics called his style country-politan funk, a risk that paid, until it suddenly didn't. Radio programmers pivoted to squeaky clean neo-traditional sounds, and Rzzy's groove went missing almost overnight. By the 90s, he was running a modest music store outside Nashville, swapping stage monitors for guitar strings and giving beginner lessons to local kids who had no idea their teacher once packed coliseums. Health complications mounted, and in 2021, Rzzy's distinctive baritone fell silent for good. Locals still tell stories of him sneaking onto open mic nights just to feel the room vibrate again, proof that the need to perform never fully retires. Johnny Rodriguez burst into Nashville in 1973, weaving Spanish phrases through twin fiddles and scoring 6 chart toppers before age 25. Back then, he toured with a pet goat named Bocephus II to keep loneliness at bay, delighting journalists hungry for quirky copy. The good times cracked when relentless touring fueled late-night escapades, culminating in a 1998 ranch house shooting that led to manslaughter charges tabloids feasted on. Rodriguez was acquitted, but radio distance had already set in. These days, he headlines Texas dance halls, proudly gray, his once silky tenor weathered but earnest. When he flips mid-chorus into Spanish, younger fans lose their minds on social media, rebooting his legacy one viral clip at a time. Lacy J. Dalton's gravel-edged howl made 16th Avenue an anthem for struggling musicians, but record execs soured when she refused to gloss her sound with synth pads. She retreated to the high desert near Virginia City, Nevada, a place as rugged as her timbre. There she funds wild horse rescues, auctioning handwritten lyric sheets to buy hay and veterinary care. Every so often she plugs into a tavern PA, growling through new songs that roar against development, encroaching on open range. Road-weary bikers and cocktail-sipping tourists fall equally silent, proof that authenticity still thunders above trend cycles. At the dawn of the video era, Charlie McClane's feathered hair and bluesy tenor lit up screens with "Who's Cheatin' Who?" Industry insiders predicted blockbuster tours, but relentless spotlight stoked claustrophobia. In 1988, Charlie bowed out, settled on a quiet Tennessee hillside, and focused on restoring vintage furniture with her musician husband. She surfaces for the occasional package tour, signing autographs beside younger acts who sample her riffs without knowing. Rumor whispers she keeps a studio in the basement and records gospel demos for fun, but she's in no rush to prove anything to anyone, not even herself. David Friselle grew up in the shadow of Brother Lefty, yet carved his own lane with honky-tonk tales such as, "I'm gonna hire a wino to decorate our home." After the Oklahoma duet rocket ride, he chased the Roadhouse circuit relentlessly, logging over 3,000 shows by the late 80s. Today, at 83, he still drives his own pickup between county fairs, selling memoirs that chronicle backstage pranks with Merle Haggard. He insists coffee and classic country vinyl keep him sharper than vitamin regimens ever could, and audiences believe him when he outlasts bands half his age. Shelley West, daughter of country icon Dottie West, tasted meteoric success alongside David, but found solo stardom's burn harsher than she envisioned. A devastating tour bus accident that took her mother's life in 1991 jolted her priorities, and by the mid-90s, she stepped away to raise children in Arkansas. Periodically, she re-emerges, often at faith-based festivals, her voice still honey-sweet, her smile softer. She mentors young songwriters through virtual workshops, warning them that compromise can be more dangerous than failure, and her Zoom sessions routinely sell out within minutes. Tom Paul Glasser co-founded the Renegade Hillbilly Central Studio, where Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson recorded raw instead of polished. The 1976 Outlaw compilation made him a cult hero, but solo follow-ups sputtered. Stubborn, contractual fights wore him out. By the late 80s, he'd shuttered the studio and retreated behind apartment blinds. Friends described him splicing old tapes to recapture magic he feared was gone. Illness claimed him in 2013, but the DIY studios of today trace lineage to his rebellious blueprint. Janie Frick's crystalline runs on ballads like "It Ain't Easy Bein' Easy" netted consecutive CMA female vocalist trophies. Then radio moved on to glossier images. Fricka bought a ranch outside Dallas, raising Brangus cattle and marketing branded beef online. On Fridays, she live streams acoustic sets from her barn, joking about singing to cows who appear unimpressed until the grain bucket rattles. A 2024 podcast revealed she sometimes autographs ribeye packages for fans, proof that merchandising finds a way even when airplay evaporates. Mickey Gilly's Houston nightclub Gilly's inspired the 1980 film Urban Cowboy, catapulting him into crossover stardom. When public tastes pivoted, he reinvented in Branson, unveiling a theater with hydraulic stages and Vegas-level lights. A 2018 car crash fractured vertebrae. Doctors warned he might never walk, yet he hobbled back to the piano 6 months later. His death in 2022 left neon signs glowing, and the venue still hosts tribute shows starring family members who keep the legend two-stepping. Johnny Lee's Lookin' for Love rocketed him from bar band obscurity to stadium roar in 1980. Decades later, he jokes the song is both blessing and albatross. In 2021, Parkinson's diagnosis inspired a just one more time farewell tour, but audience energy convinced him to extend the run. He travels with a therapy dog and on-bus boxing gloves to keep muscles firing. Fans sing the high notes he can't quite hold, transforming shows into communal nostalgia therapy. After final bows, he thanks them for giving the song a second life. He's also recording stripped-down videos from his Texas living room, uploading them to social media where Gen Z listeners stumble upon the original Urban Cowboy and flood comments with heart emojis. The unexpected online buzz reminds Lee that digital frontiers can stretch farewell tours indefinitely. Bailey and the boys perfected silky group harmonies that felt almost pop rock before country radio rebranded itself for Garth-sized stadium grit. The group lost its major label deal but refused to disband. In 2024, they issued a live album captured at Larry's Country Diner, humble yet heartfelt. Kathy Bailey records podcast episodes about navigating menopause in the music biz, proving life experience is content gold. Away from the mic, Kathy offers virtual harmony workshops, teaching TikTok creators the lost art of three-part blend, and regularly surprises students by looping her husband Michael in for real-time guitar accompaniment. Their cottage studio sessions prove that mentorship can monetize nostalgia. Their subtle persistence underscores that staying power sometimes means downsizing, but never surrendering. Michael Martin Murphey scorched the pop charts with the haunting Wildfire, but his soul belonged to open ranges and campfire storytelling. He founded Westfest, toured with symphonies, and now, at 80, rides horseback into remote mountain towns to host unplugged cowboy Christmas shows celebrating Wildfire's 50th anniversary. Between gigs, he briefs Congress on land conservation and posts trail ride vlogs smelling of sagebrush and saddle soap. In interviews, he muses that the West isn't just a geography but a state of mind, something he carries onto Washington policy panels discussing water rights. Younger Americana acts now cite Murphy as a forebear of ecological songwriting, elevating his cult status. KT Oslin's 80s Ladies voiced experience rarely heard on male-dominated playlists, earning Grammys and a legion of fans who felt truly seen. Health crises, a quadruple bypass and later a degenerative illness, whittled stage time. She passed in 2020, but devotees scour label vaults for rumored unreleased demos. Few recall she once understudied on Broadway, that theatrical precision shaped her narrative lyrics. Fan forums recently celebrated uncovered rehearsal tapes revealing Oslin coaching bandmates through complex chord voicings while cracking whiskey-dry jokes that left the room in stitches. Her raw honesty paved runways for every songwriter tackling adulthood with eyes wide open. Ed Bruce wrote, "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys," watched it become a cultural banner, and then enjoyed a respectable solo career that included hosting television's Truckin' USA. In later years, he bred quarter horses, saying real livestock beat metaphorical ones. Film buffs remember his rugged cameo opposite James Garner in the series Brett Maverick, proving his cowboy ethos translated to screen. Late in life, he donated songwriting royalties to youth rodeo programs, ensuring fresh generations could chase both barrels and melodies. His 2021 passing prompted country stations to dedicate full hours to the mythic West he captured in 3 minutes. Dan Seals morphed from soft rock fixture England Dan into country hitmaker, twirling couples across dance floors with bop and everything that glitters. When corporate radio tightened playlists, Seals took his acoustic trio to churches and small arts centers, playing for love more than acclaim. Friends say he toured developing nations with missionary groups, performing acoustic sets under bare bulbs, trading royalties for mosquito net donations. Those quiet trips, largely unreported, deepened the tenderness echoing through his later live recordings. Lymphoma struck, and in 2009, the gentle storyteller left behind a catalog fans now resurrect on streaming playlists, dancing in living rooms to immortal synth fiddle riffs. Holly Dunn's tender daddy's hands felt universal, yet relentless touring chipped at her creative spark. Retreating to New Mexico, she learned plein air painting, turning desert sunsets into radiant oils that hang in regional galleries. Before illness struck, she lobbied in Washington for copyright reform, arguing that fair payouts would let future storytellers avoid the burnout she felt. Her white paper testimony is now required reading in one Nashville music business course. A cancer diagnosis cut her journey short in 2016, but collectors prize each brushstroke as much as fans cherish her harmonies. Creativity simply changed mediums. Linda Davis seized a CMA trophy alongside Reba McEntire in 1993, but solo lightning never struck twice. Rather than churn out formula records, she funneled energy into her household act, the Scott Family, touring fairs and churches with husband Lang and Grammy magnet daughter Hillary of Lady A. In 2024, the trio releases gospel-tinged EPs financed through Patreon. Their harmonies proof that generational blending can extend careers beyond industry gatekeepers. Offstage, she mentors first-time foster parents, crediting her own family's journey with adopting children from Uganda. The Scott family's merch table often features charity bracelets instead of glossy headshots, redirecting fandom toward service. Streaming's algorithmic roulette has also nudged a few of these voices back into unexpected relevance. When a 20-something TikTok creator paired an antique footage montage with Bailey and the Boys' Long Shot, the clip blew past 5 million views in 48 hours. Overnight, the trio's 35-year-old album outsold several contemporary releases on digital platforms, and Kathy found herself fielding interview requests from journalists young enough to be her grandchildren. Meanwhile, Mickey Gilly tribute dancers on Instagram have spawned a micro-challenge that propels Stand By Me streams every Friday night. Lee Greenwood, never one to waste momentum, launched a limited-run podcast dissecting the anatomy of a patriotic hit. He invited fellow veterans of our list, Friselle, Shepard, even a rare phone-in from Sylvia, each episode ending with a joint performance stitched together from separate home studios. The show's homespun sincerity climbed Apple's music history charts, proving that narrative intimacy can compete with slick docuseries budgets. Even the more reclusive names have begun tasting the benefits of modern connection. Charlie MacLane's niece, savvy with social media, convinced her aunt to share weekly porch session clips. Wearing paint-stained overalls, Charlie croons half-remembered lines while sanding a cedar chest, the echoey phone audio as authentic as the breeze rustling her wind chimes. Comment sections overflow with gratitude from listeners who never knew the songwriter behind their parents' mixtapes was still alive, let alone comfortable enough to sing in her backyard. Technology has also rewritten touring economics. Johnny Lee's management streams his sound checks to paying subscribers who swap set list suggestions in real time. Dan Seal's estate licenses unreleased demo stems to lo-fi producers, birthing chilled cowboy beats that soundtrack midnight study sessions worldwide. Meanwhile, legacy merch tables have gone digital. Janie Frick's ribeye packages now include QR codes that beam buyers to backstage cattle-feeding cams, a quirky fusion of farm life and fandom that somehow feels perfectly country. For listeners, these micro-revivals serve as a reminder that music careers rarely follow clean arcs. They swell and dip like red clay backroads, sometimes abandoned, sometimes rediscovered by adventurous drivers, that still lead in their own winding way toward home. As long as someone somewhere cues up a forgotten chorus and hits repeat, the ride continues, humming along with fresh-tuned engines and weathered wheels alike. So spin the dial again tomorrow. You never know which flicker from yesterday will light the present night brightly. From flag-waving anthems to desert brush paintings, these 20 stories show stardom isn't a straight two-step. It loops, detours, and sometimes rides off beneath a quieter moon. The common thread is resilience, whether found in horse rescues, farewell tours, cattle ranches, or late-night songwriting sessions. long after mainstream airplay has faded. So the next time Wildfire, Nobody, or God Bless the USA drifts through a grocery store speaker, remember the living, breathing lives still humming behind those choruses. Country music survives because its storytellers find new stages, barn lofts, Congress hearing rooms, live stream squares, to keep human truths twanging. If these forgotten names sparked a memory today, hit replay, share their songs, and join the ongoing tale. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.